Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all to the second session of the Value Education Olympiad. I hope you're all safe and you are all keeping well in times of COVID. Today, we have with us the phenomenal Dr. Livleen Kaur. Dr.
Hello, Sana.
Livleen, hello, ma'am. How are you?
I'm good, good. Thank you.
So, Dr. Livleen is the Associate Director of Environment Education and Awareness at the Energy and Resources Institute, New Delhi. She is the EST, Education for Sustainable Development professional, working with government bodies and corporates for over 2 decades. And today she shares with us her experiences on the value of honesty and how it impacts our environment and society. I am your host, Sana Mittal. I'm a first year undergraduate student at the University of Warwick. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sana. Thank you for the nice introduction. Uh, Welcome to all of you. A very, very monsoon welcome, I should say, because I'm speaking to you from Delhi, and we have received phenomenal rains today since morning. So it's a very pleasant day, and I would say it's a beautiful setting to start talking with you about a very, very important principle of honesty, which is very simple. It is so deeply a part of our living, a part of our existence, and it takes us a long way when we further confront issues like environment ethics, our lifestyles, the way we perceive environment, and our entire existence in this universe. So, just to sort of set the context for my talk with you, I would request Sana if you could just show the movie that I had shared a link, because I have a problem with sharing my screen. So, I'm unable to open the movie for you. This movie was is shared, and if Sana you are unable to log in, it's on the YouTube link Geo5F. So that will be great. So as Sanam had mentioned, we have a very, very important topic of honesty to discuss with you. And as I take you forward and we sort of dive a little bit deep into this important human value, yes, this is the film that I wanted to show you, uh, which is Geo 5E. So, are you able to see the screen? You can hear it?
Everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there on a mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam. The earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors, so that in glory and triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds, our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe, are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The Earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Is it? Yes. Settle. Not yet. Like it or not, for the moment, the Earth is where we make our stand. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known. Carl Sagan is an astronomer who has lived.
So, getting back to our discussion, we can close the movie. So, what we just saw was a very beautiful picturization of actually a humbling experience of our existence in the universe. We have mighty egos. We talk about what I can do. But if we see very carefully, we introspect and find out we are just a pixel in the existence of the entire universe. And this universe sort of harbors our planet Earth. It was very important to show you this film because, whatever we build up in our life, we build up with a lot of zeal, and we always have the zeal to control it. And that is why all these anxieties of all these behavioral aspects that we imbibe get rooted into our living system. If we feel that we are just a part of an existence that comes and goes, our fights will become less. We will live a little bit more consciously, and that is where my entire set of discussions will now rest upon. We will go back to the presentation. I will request Sana to kindly share it with you again, and we come to the next slide in the structure of our talk. Honesty is a very, very important principle that I mentioned to all of you that we are conscious about. So, is the slide visible to everyone? Yes, thank you so much. So, the first important question: honesty is the best policy. We have been writing this since we were children. We have been writing essays on it. We have been writing stories about it. But still, I want to ask you, do we all agree to this basic statement on which our life rests? Do we all believe that honesty is the best principle? Do we agree? If not, next slide, please. Let us consider the origin of the word honesty. Honesty is derived from a Sanskrit word satya, which means truth, which is an essence of existence. And please link it back to the movie, that film documentary that we just saw, that is on how life has originated and how our planet Earth is a part of the entire universe. It is very, very essential for us to be truthful in our thoughts, speech, and action. This session will also be available to you in Hindi, and also I will take some of the slides in Hindi with you. Uh, the purpose that mentioned a couple of slides back, हमने बोला कि honesty is the best policy. क्या हम इस बात से सहमत हैं? अगर हम इस बात से सहमत हैं, अगर ये हमारा प्रिंसिपल है जीने का, तो हमें क्यों कोर्सेज लेने पड़ते हैं ऑनेस्टी के ऊपर? Why do we need these extensive courses? We have so many films, we have worksheets, हम लोग कहानियां सुनते हैं, हम केस स्टडीज सुनते हैं, ये सारी चीजें जो हैं we see and we understand on honesty. And still, if we believe that honesty is the best policy, we don't have to learn about honesty, because honesty is the first chapter in the book of wisdom. But still, we get into conflict situations. These conflicts arise when we separate ourselves from our existence. And our existence has to be an honest existence. God has been so honest with us. Whatever He has given to us in terms of resources, He has not partitioned into different countries or different people or different societies. It is available equally to each and every one. The political boundaries have led to countries. The geographical features have led to continents. But the resources given to all of us are available equally. Because, as I said, honesty is the best policy. If God is honest with us, why are we not honest with our own brothers, with our own sisters? Next slide, please. So let's again interpret honesty. Honesty, as I had mentioned, arises from the word satya, and it actually means a principle of honest living, a truthful existence. Here also, please understand, everybody commits a mistake. Man errs. We say man errs, but forgiveness is divine. But if we club our mistakes with lies, lies are purposeful, then it is a system of failure. Then it means that we have failed in our existence. But if we err, if we make a mistake, but we are honest to accept it, we are truthful to accept it, we get another chance. We get a second chance to prove that what we were standing for, what we were wanting to speak about, was right. So, this is where we get a chance to redeem where our mistakes have arisen from. Honesty is a principle of integrity. It is clubbed with a lot of other values and virtues like courage, respect, responsibility, fairness, trust, and all of them link up to making integrity, which is again a human virtue. If we are conscious, if we are honest about our existence, if we respect our parents, we will never lie. Similarly, when we go to a place of worship, we always put our head down. We kneel before God and we say that put us on the right path. Similarly, that right path doesn't stop when we move out of the place of worship. We live in a house where our parents are our God. If we respect them, we will never be dishonest. That is a little bit of a virtue of living. But if we introspect it with environmental honesty, academic honesty, these are issues that we confront in our day to day professions, our living in society, our interaction with our brothers and sisters. We have to be a very, very strong uh, person who doesn't get into aspects of environmental dishonesty and academic dishonesty. And what are these two levels of dishonesty? Next slide, please. We see certain people when they talk to us, the first statement that they put to us, oh, don't worry, don't you trust me? The minute we say, don't you trust me, this is a moment of doubt in our own mind. We know that we are about to say something which is not true to our own system, and we want to put the other person in a system where he's not on guard, and we say, don't you trust me? And that is where we can check if a relationship rests on honesty or it does not. It is very simple. And honest living is the simplest way of living, because if you do not lie, you will not have to remember what you have said, because what you are saying is a part of your existence, it is a part of your living. You will not have to push issues under the carpet. You will not have to avoid your friends and foes, because what you are is what they see. And you will not have to say statements like, don't you trust me? The minute we say, don't you trust me, means that we do not trust our own self. I mentioned about academic dishonesty. Academic dishonesty is is a issue that people they face when we deal with data. When we take somebody else's write-ups, we publish them, we create academic forgery, we do plagiarism, we write something which has been already mentioned by somebody else. So these are issues of academic dishonesty. And similarly, next slide please, we also have environmental dishonesty. And the screen over here shows you the Sustainable Development Goals. These are 17 principles that the world community, the global community, has now abided in. They have accepted us as an integral part of living in sync, in harmony with nature. Why? Because they rest both on equality and equity, and also they have a long term impact. All these 17 principles of living, they are on different sustainable development issues. And what were the sustainable development issues? Sustainable development issues rest on three pillars of environment, economic, and social improvement of all parts of the society. If we are to push our society into an environmentally positive direction, we have to abide with sustainable development goals. And if we have to see that we meet the indicators laid down by sustainable development goals, we have to be honest. We have to measure, we have to see that each and every development that we tick against the goals, it is true. And here again, let us go a little a step backwards and reflect upon Gandhiji's talisman. What did he say? This is something which is there in each and every NCRT textbook. He said that whenever you are in doubt, Remember the life of a person who is most disprivileged. And whatever you are to do, if that is to affect that person, then what you are doing is right. Then that is a honest approach. And this will put your doubts away, and then you will be able to say that yes, what I'm doing is a measure of sustainability, and this is a measure that can be equated on the principle of equity, and it will impact the society. So, while I'm talking with you about honesty, I'm also putting in a little bit of environment issues to your knowledge, because at the end of it, when you are in your classrooms, when you are interacting with your peers, when you are with your friends, this is where all these things will come handy for you. Next slide, please. We can, okay. So, whatever I spoke about is again about me, mine, myself. And this me, mine, myself is about human existence. What about the resources, the living resources that God has given us? Are they not worthy enough of our concern? Are animals less privileged? Are plants not required? No, they are required as much as we are required on the planet. Why? Because man cannot live in isolation. While we make our friends, we hold hands, we go towards progress, we should see that all the plants, all the animals that God has gifted us with are also a part of this web in which we rest our existence. And this is very, very essential for a honest living. Because if you remember what I mentioned, God has been honest. He has given us all the resources equally. But when we have access to resources, some of us have more access to more resources, we should be conscious and we should see that we should not overtake from what is there for us, because the well-being of every creature on the planet earth is dependent on every next creature. And this is again a principle of honesty. Next slide, please. Okay. Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. We are a part of the family. This is a very nice concept, and I think I know a couple of schools which even have it as the slogan of the school. And what does it mean? It means this one is a friend and that one a stranger. Are people, whoever says these, are people with petty minds. People with evolved consciousness embrace the entire world as one. And this is what is rested in the tenet of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. So, honesty is just not a beautiful term. It is just not a decoration that we like to put on a nice Comic Sans font and put it in our cupboard, or we put it somewhere on a workstation. Whatever we do, if we consider the world to be a family, if we consider plants and animals as equal to us, we are being honest to our existence. And this honesty is very much rested in what our Upanishads, what our Veds have been teaching us all through. Next slide, please. Ethical reasoning about environment is a case of honesty. And this is what I have been talking to you now. When I'm saying that be conscious of what you consume, be conscious of the resources around you, be empathetic to each and every individual. So, this is all that is there when we say that ethical reasoning about environment is a case of honesty. Next slide, please. Okay, so if we just want to consider environment, let's talk, split it up into different components which can be measured, and then let us see how honest are we when we work or when we are in sync with these physical entities derived from the environment. So, are we efficiently using the electrical appliances all around us? Do we unplug the appliances when they are not in use? Do we open the windows instead of running the AC? Today, it is such a pleasant day. How many of us are still sitting with the AC on mode? So, do we close shades during sunny hours? Do we turn off the lights before leaving the home? So these are small ways of being responsible, and our way of showing that yes, we have an ethical existence and we are being honest to the resources which are all around us. Next slide, please. Food wastage. Again, a very, very important principle of ethical living. Please organize your weekly meals, because only when we organize our weekly meals, our daily meals, we will be able to see that no waste is created and the surplus is automatically used when it is in an edible form. Throwing off food is the biggest sin. God is there in each and every food that we consume. We should never throw away food. Whenever we go out and we have to plan our shopping, do we make lists and go to the shopping mall and then purchase, or it is that compulsive consumeristic behavior in which we put whatever is available in our carts and bring it home and most of it goes waste? We should minimize the processed and fast foods. Please, we have to learn to cook ourselves the meals that we consume and then see to it that nothing is put to waste. We should use less of plasticware, less of paper plates, and whatever is used should be washed, cleaned, and then again reused. Next slide, please. So, these may seem to you very, very simple issues, but in fact, they are all a part of our ethical living. Um, okay, 1 minute. Now we will come to how can we save the fuel. So saving the fuel is again very important, and this is again leading to sort of saving a very, very important resource, because whatever we save now, whatever we save today, is automatically becoming a resource for tomorrow. Then again, wherever we are doing away with riding cars, going in flashy vehicles, we are doing a good to the environment. We are cycling, we are carpooling, we are using public transport, and also we are avoiding unnecessary footprints outside. So, saving of fuel is again a very, very important ethical dimension of living in sync with the environment. Next, please. Consuming less paper. Think before you print, recycle, go digital, subscribe to digital magazines, and wherever possible, do away with this concept of manual filing of papers, because we do not always need an alarm bell to sound us when we are doing something which is not good for the environment. It was such a sorry state, when you were seeing all these memes being circulated when people had run out of oxygen cylinders, that trees are required, we should grow trees, we are getting oxygen free of cost. So do we need to get into this disaster position to understand the value of any resource, any natural resource? Whenever we are using more paper, we are cutting trees, and we should not be cutting trees unnecessarily. So that is the value of going digital, and then not cutting off trees, not throwing away paper, not reusing paper. These are not ways of living in sync with nature. Next slide, please. Okay. Living in harmony with nature. We always believe that living in harmony with nature. But does this living in harmony with nature be applicable only for people who live near open areas, near the forest, near parks, near gardens? Are they the only privileged ones, or are they the only ones responsible for living in harmony with nature? No. Every one of us, even if we are living in a urban concrete jungle, we can't live in harmony with nature, because there is so much of urban biodiversity all around us. And when I say urban biodiversity, the birds, the bees, the insects, the millipedes, everything that you see around us is a part of nature. We have to protect each and every species creation of nature. I would not say eat less meat, I would rather say eat no meat. We should not harm any other living creature. Try to create and harvest your own food. Create your own, maintain a vegetable garden. Whatever you have to consume, you pick up from your terrace gardens, your balcony gardens, and you consume them. And again, stop this consumeristic behavior. Making these frequent random visits to fancy malls is actually tempting your own self. I will go to the mall. I trust myself not to buy things unnecessarily. So, again, whenever we say, I trust, I will do this, it means we have a doubt in place. So, don't subject yourself to these moments of doubt, and live in harmony with nature. Take whatever you have to consume, and don't just store things for future. Whatever we have now has been provisioned by God, and whatever we will need in future will again be provisioned by God. Next slide, please. Okay, again, sustainable development goals. The 17 principles, they have very strong environmental indicators. There are 162 indicators linked to these 17 goals. But if you look at them, they rest on three tenets of people, peace, and prosperity. And when these three are important, all these issues, the social issues, trust, loyalty, equity, justice, respect, privacy, compassion, they all come into picture. So science is a way of living honestly. Sustainability science is a discipline which has its inroads both into social sciences, natural sciences, life sciences, and is teaching us a way of interdisciplinary understanding of living in sync with nature. Now, next slide will show you a little bit more of what I am saying. Next slide, please. We see this movie Shadni? So it was around a tiger, and tiger is a creation of nature, it is a creation of God. And when we are saying we have a NTCA in place, a National Tiger Conservation Authority, which will take care of all the tigers of the country. Are we doing away with our own responsibility? And what is our own responsibility? We should be aware that tiger is a umbrella species in a forest ecosystem. And when we say that we are protecting tiger, we are automatically protecting all the life around the tiger which is there in the nature. We are protecting the people who are living there, we are protecting the plants, we are protecting the other species. And how are they linked to it? Isn't it very easy, isn't it very simple to pick up all the tigers and bring them to zoo and say that wow, we are protecting tigers? So, is that a honest way or thinking about tiger protection? I'm giving you an example of tiger, but that holds true for so many other species. If we are being honest, if we are thinking of compassion, loyalty, living in harmony, we will not take away from nature, we will not randomly pick up things and put them into plastic or artificial enclosures. We will rather let them prosper and live in sync with other beings. So this movie, if we have all seen, is an excellent example of showing how honesty is a principle of even dealing with different species when they are in wild. Next slide, please. Um, I think there is an issue with the slide. Okay, so I hope the slides come back. So after all this talking about nature, environment, living in sync with nature, I come to another very important aspect. This is about conservation being a state of harmony between man and land. And harmony again is a very, very intrinsic value which will hold true when we are living in a state of bliss, a state of harmony between man and land. So, this way of living is again saying that we are living in sync with nature. And next slide, please. Why? Because there are three terms mentioned at the base of this slide: intellectual, social, and personal. So, to live a life of honesty, we have to see that we are intellectually inclined. Are we in a receptive frame of mind to accept what is being taught to us? So, we are intellectually inclined to accept honesty as a way of living. When we say socially, man being a social animal, are we also inspiring others by our action to live as honestly as we are living? And are we doing any transformation in the life of other people whose lives are dependent on us? So this is the what Aldo Leopold meant when he said conservation is a state of harmony between man and land. Because continuously there are checks and measures which keep testing and putting us on an indicator charge that whatever we are doing is of value, is of use to the society in which we are living. Next slide, please. Okay, I mentioned a term sustainability science if you had captured a few minutes back. Why did I bring that term here? Because all human beings are intelligent. Intelligence is there in our genetic framework when we are born. But there are different types of personalities. So these different types of personalities are a naturalist person, a musical person, a interpersonal person, a linguistic person, intra, kinesthetic. So these terminologies are all rested on the types of intelligence which Mark Vital had prophesied. And this is important for us to consider. Sometimes we feel very frustrated. We feel we are talking to a wall. Why can't you understand me? We get agitated. Why are you not understanding what I'm saying? It is so simple as that. It is the truth. We are not able to get across because the person has a different form of intelligence which is more dominant in his personality trait. So we have to consider it is our mistake if we are not able to convince another person of what we are saying. Even when we are talking of circular economy, we're talking of principles of taxonomy, we are talking of life, we're talking of plants. Maybe the person whom we are talking about is a completely musically inclined person and he is not able to understand what we are saying. So that is where, when we have to change our gears and we have to see that we have to change track and attract the person from where his or her understanding rests in. So these, next slide please. So these levels of intelligence is very important. And this is the main difference between the emotional quotient and the intelligence quotient of a human being. Every human being has honesty in his or her system, but he could be more emotionally inclined. He can immediately empathize with you, he can understand what you are saying, he's socially aware. And contrary, he could be a very, very technologically savvy person. He knows numbers, he doesn't understand a subjective reference. So we have to be understanding, we should know how we need to address and touch the tone of the other human being so that we are able to lift him to that sphere of honesty. Because honesty is, as I said, a human value. And human value means it's a free gift from nature. Next slide, please. It is there with each one of us, and we have to see that the legacy that we have got is with us and is also passed to future generations. How we do it? It can be case studies, it can be stories, it can be personal behavior, but this uh, word of honesty needs to be spoken about, passed on to each and every person around us. Next slide, please. Okay, how do we teach honesty to children? It is very simple. We have to be a principled and a honest person to be able to teach our children to be honest, because the vibes are there, the intergenerational flow of information, the intergenerational behavior. The only thing we need to do is we have to be honest with them. We need to monitor what they are doing. If they are doing something good, we should encourage them. If they are not doing something which is right, we should be able to stop them, and we should take efforts to explain to them. This age of instant gratification, a child cries, we give the child whatever he or she wants, is something that we all parents have indulged in a way or the other. But this needs to be very, very important. It is very important that we stop this instant gratification. Instead, we should create these moments of happiness that the child is able to remember throughout his or her life. We might buy something which is very, very, which makes a child very happy, but that object will not stay with the child all his life. But if we create a moment of gratification, we are able to give some thought, some living, some form of exchange, which is verbal, thought, deed, and the child is able to get happiness from this particular aspect, he will live with it throughout his life. So this is what I say, that the child and parent exchange is very important, and we have to be honest, we have to show by our own living that whatever we are doing is rested on truth, because truth is our existence. Next slide, please. You have participated, or you will be participating in this Value Olympiad being done by ISKCON. And this is a very beautiful example, because it is teaching you, it is sort of very consciously hitting a trigger for you to be honest. And when it is there for you, because in values, honesty is a very important principle, it is also giving you very beautiful stories to remember. I went through the resource material and I found it very inspiring. It is a junior and a senior leg of the Olympiad, and it talks about simple stories which have we have been hearing in mythology, about how different people had lived a life of honesty. We hear about, we read about Raja Harishchandra, who gave up whatever he had because he wanted to live a life of honesty. And till date, whenever we encounter a dishonest incident, we do hear people saying, you think that you are Raja Harishchandra, that you are above everything, your act is also being questioned. So, this is the strength of a mythological character which we read in the material that is being shared with us. Next slide, please. Again, a topic that has come in the material is white lie. What is a white lie? White lie is when we just say things without even meaning to say them. They just come to us and we are out there to please somebody. There's another way of looking at a way of living in which we don't lie. Please do not say anything. If somebody asks you, how did you like my food? Maybe we don't like it, but we will be compelled to say that, yeah, this was very delicious, we liked it. Or we could just smile and let that moment pass. So if we are just smiling and we are letting that moment pass, we are not being dishonest, and we are not even hurting another person. So this way of going through a situation, avoiding a situation of conflict, do you like me? Smile. So your smile doesn't say that you like a person or you don't like the person. But this way of always being able to say something to please somebody will become a part of a character if we do not avoid it. And even a small lie, a non intentional mention, all of these form a system of our living. So if somebody asks us, are you comfortable with this platform? Have you used this? I don't have to boast about it and say, oh, yes, I have done it so many times. I have not done it. I am doing it for the first time. So it is not a matter of right or wrong, it is just a matter of opinion. So be honest, say what is the truth. Next slide, please. Again, this is again, I find it, and my father used to say this to me since I was a child, and he used to say it in Hindi. इतना कड़वा नहीं बनना कि लोग तुम्हें थूक दें, और इतना मीठा नहीं बनना कि लोग तुम्हें खा लें. So at that time it was very funny, what he was saying, like, am I something that I can be chewed or spit or whatever? But now when he's not there, and whenever I'm in doubt, I think about what he has said to me. I find a very sound reasoning. We have to express things in a agitative manner. We need not always make people happy all around us. Whenever we have to say the truth, certain truths are bitter, they have to be said. But if at times there is something which is very gross, which is very strong, and which can be avoided, please at least say it in a way that it is pleasing. We do not have to always get into conflict. This conflict is leading the world on the path of war and conflicts. Everybody wants to say or show that he or she is right. So let go, create harmony. Sometimes you win, sometimes let the other person win. So, this is again a way of living and a very important value system. Next slide, please. Greenwashing. This is again a very beautiful concept that is there in the curriculum that is shared with you for Value Olympiad. Most of the companies are getting into this greenwashing scheme. And what is this greenwashing all about? Greenwashing, washing. Why do we wash? We wash when we have to do away with certain things. And greenwash means painting it to be very, very environment friendly while it is not. We create a product which has been built out of destroying so many resources, but we say that this product has not harmed any life or any living being while it was created. So what are we doing? We are greenwashing. So we are creating labels. These are called as greenwash labels, which speak about things which are actually not the soul of that physical entity. And environmental honesty goes for a six when we get into this greenwashing. Everybody is putting in a statement. Again, trust me, this is a very valid, this is a very good environment product. Why do I have to trust you? Doesn't your product speak about itself that it is a very, very viable and green and a green product? So be conscious about labels and be conscious how people are there to lure you to purchase things which are actually not environmentally sustainable. Read about it in the book. You will see example of Starbucks. You will see so many other things that will explain things very, very clearly to you. Next slide, please. We'll skip this. Next slide. Okay. Then there is again a very beautiful story about a woodcutter and a goddess. How a poor woodcutter was so honest, and he was rewarded by the goddess, in which he was given more axe and also a gold and a silver axe, while he had lost only one iron axe. So these are beautiful stories, and these types of stories are which should be told to our children when they are young. That is where they will see merit in living honestly, because what they always see is conflict. But if you give them these simple foundations, beautiful stories of how people have been rewarded when they were being honest, it will give them an inspiration to do away with lies. Lying is a very, very negative trait, and it becomes a part of the character. So, this needs to be amended from a very young age, and I am so glad that this Value Olympiad is picking up these very simple issues which were earlier just a way of the way a family used to live. But now these are getting into curriculum and testing procedures where we are able to relearn, making children conscious about these simple ways of living. Next slide, please. So, this was a story which is there in your curriculum. Read it. So, after all this talk about honesty, what do you feel? Do you not agree with me when I say that honesty creates a circle of love? What is a circle of love? Circle of love is a circle of acceptance. It is a circle of growth. It is a circle of connection. It is a circle where we all feel free. We are happy. So there are questions coming up which I will address. It also creates a circle of care. And very important, if you are honest, you are a very, very courageous human being. You are a person of valor because you have the principles to stand in the right position. So, honesty is the spinal, I would say, the backbone of a person. It is the way a person lives. And all these things are very true when we are living a honest way. Next slide, please. Another beautiful story which is there in your curriculum, Satyakama and Gautam Rishi, how a student was honest of his existence and how he owned up his existence to a rishi and became his beloved disciple and later on a very learned sage. You know, at times we feel shy. Why do we lie? It is not always for money that we lie. We feel shy of accepting certain flaws. So when we feel shy of accepting certain flaws, we what do? We lie to get out of that situation. Please face it, accept it. And whatever is in existence in the universe is for a good. That is why people say that even when you think positive. Any vibe that we create is a addition to the universe, and that vibe keeps moving. It bangs here, there. You create positive circles, you get into positive way of living. You create negative circles, you get into negative way of living. Similarly, why do we do that? When we do not accept our flaws. So when we accept our flaws, we are in peace with our existence, we will not lie. So, this is another story of Satyakama and Gautam Rishi, which is there in your book. Please read it. Next slide, please. Okay, we are approaching Independence Day, and we all know the colors of our national flag. So, we know the saffron, we know the white, we know the green. Each and every color is linked to a value. And these values are our way of living in sync with nature. White is what denotes peace and truth, and truth is honesty. So, our country stands for honest principles. Our religion speaks about honesty. Our parents speak to us about honest behavior. Our friends are with us because we believe in compassion, we believe in sharing. When our entire environment is speaking about such values, what is stopping us to lead a path of honesty? So, this is a very beautiful representation of the colors of a national flag. You please go through them: self sacrifice, gracefulness, righteousness, empathy. Think about any value, spiritual wisdom. It is very much there in the flag. So, when we hold our head high, when we say a national anthem, we sing a national anthem, we stand for honesty. So, this is what I wanted to tell you by this representation. Next slide, please. We will skip this. Next, please. Okay, this is my favorite. This is a very beautiful visualization of the blind man and the elephant. You know, I will put this elephant in connection to life and also in connection to truth. Everybody's truth is different. It is like the blind men who came across an elephant, and whatever part of the elephant that they touched, the person who touched the trunk said, "Oh, this is something like snake. Elephant is like a snake." Someone who touched the ears, he said, "Oh, it is like a fan." Somebody who touched the tail, he said, "The elephant is like a rope." So, you know, these are the different contexts that we face in life. The honesty that we have in our academics could be different from the honesty that we follow in our environmental existence, could be a little different from the honesty that we live with in our family. But can we dissect it into different pieces and say that this is what honesty is? No. Our contexts will be different, but an elephant is an elephant. Honesty is an elephant, it is a living entity. Even if we come across different aspects, we cannot let go of this value system, which is honesty. Next slide, please. Please reflect about it whenever you are in doubt in life. Okay, so now again, I would request Sana if you could play the. I had sent a link to you, the second link of Bharat Ek Khoj. So just reflect on this music and we will get into the discussion. Will somebody, okay, 1 minute. I have it. Somebody had shared it with me. Okay. No, you have removed that. It is a Bharat Ek Khoj title track. In case we are not able to hear it, please hear it later. What I do not have a very good voice, otherwise I could have sung it for you. What it says is, सृष्टि से पहले सत नहीं था, असत भी नहीं, अंतरिक्ष भी नहीं, आकाश भी नहीं था, छिपा था क्या, कहाँ, किसने ढका था, उस पल तो अगम अतल जल भी कहाँ था. You know, it just gives you goosebumps when you listen to this music. And this is where we come back to what Carl Sagan had said in the video that I showed to you. Why are we full of so self pride? Why is our truth more truthful than the other person's truth? Look at nature, look at the world around you. Whatever God has created is the truth. And He has been so honest in giving you things which are all equal. So, if we accept this final truth, there will be no way that we will be lured towards a path of dishonesty. So, this is what I wanted to share with you. The last slide, please. Please listen to this music later. I work with Terry, and Terry, as we all know, is an environmental research institute. We work a lot with children. So, these are three levels that I'm sharing here through which the students who have joined this talk can get connected with us. We compartmentalize environmental issues, but at the end of it, be it climate change, be it forest, be it sustainable consumption, all of them are linked to sustainable development. And sustainable development is linked to Gandhiji's principle of accepting what is good for the entire humanity. And once we accept what is good for the entire humanity, we are a truthful person. So feel free to connect with us and thank you so much for this opportunity. Now we can take up some questions. We can get a little bit deep into what I have spoken about. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll now be taking some questions from the audience. If anybody would like to ask any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we'll ask your questions here. So, Devansh
There
is
was, yes, the gratification. I saw that in the chat, right, Sana?
right.
Uh,
Yes.
Very beautiful point, Devansh. What is gratification? Gratification is when a child is crying and creating a problem in the house and telling his parents, I want a mobile phone. And the parents don't know, they are unable to convince the child, and finally they get so irritated and they hand over the phone to the child because they do not want to get into a position of conflict. They feel that by agreeing to what the child wants, right or wrong, is giving them peace. This is gratification. And gratification is not a positive value. You know, in order to be comfortable, in order to be in a position of let go, you avoid a conflict situation and you do which is the easiest, give in. So in a family context, a parent's giving in to the problems that a child is creating by asking for things that he or she doesn't want. In a working environment, when we have a position of conflict, and instead of getting into conflict resolution, we get into groups and start gossiping. So that is again gratification. You are speaking what the other person wants you to speak. You are not speaking the truth. You are not being honest to. What you are saying is, trust me, I am doing good for you. So this is gratification. You're creating a negative or a false aura just to give in and to be at peace. So this is Divansh what I mean when I say gratification.
Right, thank you. So, Shivendra and many others in the chat are asking what greenwashing is.
Okay. First of all, pick up the reading material that ISKCON has provided you. Greenwash is handled very beautifully in the senior level syllabus. See, greenwashing is that, I am creating a cloth. Okay, I am a cloth manufacturer, and I am using a lot of synthetics, I'm using a lot of plastics, I am using a lot of synthetic colors in creating that cloth. And at the end of it, I'm putting in a label and saying this is 100% organic. This is what greenwashing is about. And because I have a very strong stature, nobody is doubting me. They automatically believe and they say, oh wow, this and this brand cannot lie. And they are purchasing something on a brand value. And what am I doing? I am manufacturing and selling dishonesty in the in hiding it into a brand. Similarly, like we say that uh, child labor should not be encouraged. But so many times we go in for products or we buy things from children, or we go and purchase things which are manufactured in factories where child labor is working. So again, that is social greenwashing. There is that is another aspect. So similarly, an electric product, it will not be a 5-star labeled product. It is not energy efficient. But since it is being manufactured by so and so company, which has a very strong brand, we accept it and say, oh, they cannot lie. So this is a product, this is a very good product, it is good for the environment. So greenwashing is when we are selling something, we are accepting things, saying that they're good for the environment, but they're actually not.
Right, absolutely. And we have one question from Vanshika. She's asking if we are stuck in a situation wherein we have to lie for the betterment of others, can we lie in that situation?
Yes, this is again a very important conflict that we get into it. And also linked to what I said, like your truth should also be measured that it does not harm someone. If we are lying to benefit someone in the context of the person is able to increase his physical requirements, that is something that will again strike a issue of conflict and we might not give in. But if it is a matter of life and death, I feel we can place the thing into a situation that a small lie will save someone. Like somebody is chasing, this is again a story that has come up somewhere. Someone There's a person running, there are people chasing him, even in during mob conflicts, during riots. We see examples of people who are hiding other people into their houses and saying that no, this person is not there. What is the person actually doing? He is taking it on his or her conscience and lying to save a fellow human being. So, that type of a lie, I would say it is not being dishonest, it is being a little practical so that you do not you do not harm another person. So, please read, do a lot of reflective thinking, see, measure what you say, see the company that you're in, and if you can get away without saying a lie with a smile, that is best. But if it has to save somebody's life, I would go for it, because I do not want to take it on my conscience that a fellow person is killed by my being very, very honest. So this is my personal view.
I think, ma'am, one of the questions that many students are now asking is also that what is IQ and what is EQ?
Okay. See, IQ is a measure of your intelligence, and IQ is how good you are in the root reading, learning, mathematical skills. So whatever your curriculum academics is all about, that is measured in your IQ. But EQ is your emotional quotient. It is the empathy with which you live, the love that you give to people around you, the harmony that is with you, the conflict resolution skills that you have. So that is your emotional quotient. That is what that is a value, that is a spiritual your spiritual existence. And all the values that we talk about, honesty and all, they all fall into your emotional quotient. And if you are participating in Value Olympiad and you're scoring very well, you're able to deliberate, you're able to convince, you're able to adopt some of the things that you have learned, you will have a very strong EQ, because compassion, love, non hatred, these are all empathetic terms, these are all emotional balances that we have in life. And IQ is your performance, your scores, your mathematical skills, your learning skills, all of them are your IQs.
Right, thank you. I think one of the other questions that is coming up is if I am dishonest, how will it impact the environment? So, in brief, can you just answer this question?
Okay. Why do you want to be dishonest? My first question. See, if nature is not dishonest to you, why should we be dishonest to nature? And 100%, if you are being dishonest, you are creating a negative vibe that is impacting the environment. Because dishonest doesn't come as a card that you move around with, that I am a honest or a dishonest person. It is the deeds that you do. If you are being dishonest, you will be tempted to pick up something that you don't need, because you have asked a very generic general question. I'll try to bring it down to a very realistic framework. You are a person, like, if you follow a consumeristic lifestyle, you are being dishonest. Why? Because you go to the mall, you just need one packet of biscuits, but you are purchasing 20 packets of biscuit. So why? Because you are just picking it up that before there is a discount, and if you pick up more, you will be able to benefit out of this situation. So what is happening? You are slowing down the stocks. And then from where does these biscuits come in? These biscuits will be coming from different centers, and somewhere or the other it will be linked to a natural resource, milk, wheat, plants. So you're pushing somebody to produce more so that you are being able to gratify your immediate needs. So dishonesty 100% impacts the environment because you are consuming more than what you need. Similarly, you will start building buildings which are so away from environmental and simple way of living. You will start wearing clothes which are very non environment friendly way of living. So living and way, your behavior, your dishonesty will impact the environment. And if you're asking this question, I am sorry, maybe you have not been able to follow those 3 4 slides that I showed you. Fuel efficiency, not consuming paper, uh, environment friendly behavior, all of these, electric efficiency, are your measures of honesty towards the environment. So please be honest to yourself, and automatically you'll be honest to the environment.
Thank you so much. I think one very hard question that somebody is asked is, what is a lie? How do we define a lie?
I would say, to define lie is a non-natural entity because you are fabricating it. Whenever we are being pushed into a situation when we have to reflect, think, and produce that particular issue or that principle, that becomes a lie. Because lies are created, lies are fabricated. Honesty is in existence, honesty is in our very existence, because nature is honest, God is honest. And lie is when we connive, when we create, when we get into guitars, and when we sort of create something to counter something which is honest, that becomes a lie. And how you define lie, I would say, whenever we are pushed into a situation, when we encounter or we say, trust me, I am right. Lie is incorrect. Lie should never be there. So, lie is wrong. That is how I will define lie.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think we've covered most of the questions that were asked. So, just to summarize today's session, I think we started with what honesty can be understood as, and that is that honesty is the simplest respect for truth about the world, facts, people. And we began with talking about the origin of the word honesty and the importance and implications of the value of honesty in our life today. I think then we spoke about different things that are considered dishonest, but most of the times we don't realize that these are also forms of dishonesty. And then we looked at how environmental problems can be looked through an honest lens, and we can then self reflect and actually find solutions for these problems. Then I think we went on to talk about the difference between equality and equity, something that a lot of people here were asking about. And we spoke about whether honesty is a value that can be learned, or or not, or can set, and how self reflection is a very important element uh, to be honest in one's life. And I think finally we spoke about the importance of values in general, and I think ma'am shared a very meaningful slide with us when she explained how every color in our flag has a different meaning and how it represents a different value, and it represents the importance of honesty in our life. So I thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today and for giving us such a wonderful and insightful talk. And I thank everyone here who's joined us today. The registrations for the Value Education Olympiad are closing soon, and the Hindi session will be soon available on Tuesday on our YouTube channel. Please register at www.veolympiad.com, and you can follow our social media handles as well on Instagram, Facebook, and do join in our next session on Sunday. Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you, Sana. The pleasure was all mine. Thank you. Keep smiling. Bye bye. Thank you.